It's Tuesday, November 26. In the headlines, a flash flood watch in effect for several parishes. School safety policy set for completion. In business news, Small Business Association president applauds the Bank of Jamaica's decision to further lower benchmark interest rates. Regionally, CARICOM gets help to enhance firearm detection capabilities. And in sports, West Indies earn a test victory against Bangladesh. Also, the Sunshine Girls close to a series win against England. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The Meteorological Service has issued a flash flood watch. According to the Met Service, a broad trough across the central and western Caribbean is producing a large area of organized showers and thunderstorms across the region, including Jamaica. Persons can expect light to moderate showers, and thunderstorms have been affecting eastern parishes. The showers are forecast to spread to south central parishes. Projections are for periods of showers and thunderstorms, which may be heavy at times, to affect most parishes, especially eastern and south central parishes, until Wednesday evening. Fishers on the Keys and Banks, especially those who are on the south coast, are urged to exercise extreme caution, as sea conditions will continue to deteriorate in the vicinity of showers, thunderstorms, and strong winds. A flash flood watch means that flash flooding is possible, and residents are advised to take precautionary measures. Keep informed by listening to further releases from the Meteorological Service, and be ready for quick action if flooding is observed or if a warning is issued. The long-awaited school safety policy is set to be finalized by the end of November. According to the Minister of Education, Senator Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon. Developed with input from the Ministry of National Security and support from UNICEF, the policy aims to bolster security in schools and ensure rapid responses to violence on campus.
Following two deadly attacks at separate schools last week, Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon stressed the urgent need for stronger protocols to ensure the safety of students and staff.
There's a school safety policy that's been worked on between the Ministry of Education and also the Ministry of National Security that's been in the works, and I don't like that word "in the works" because too often in Jamaica things are in the works forever. But we have said that this needs to be completed at the end of the month. UNICEF is assisting the government in finalizing it, and we expect at the end of November that review to be done, because we have to prioritize safety in schools, and our government is going to do whatever we have to do to make it clear to criminals that schools are not fair game. We're not supposed to be seeing these kinds of incidents in our schools.
Dr. Morris-Dixon emphasized that violence will not be tolerated, particularly near school grounds.
So this is a problem that is not unique to Homewood, but it is something that as a country we cannot allow to continue without strong action. And so I give you my assurance here that I am going to ensure that the school safety policy is finalized and that we are working with the Ministry of National Security to ensure that we have as robust protocols as possible at all of our schools across Jamaica.
She also knows that penalties for crimes committed on school grounds or in close proximity to children will be reviewed.
The discussions around penalties for crimes that take place on a school compound or near a school or involving our children have to be expedited. That is not in question.
Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Danita Rodney.
In a follow-up story, we delve into the government's plan to have the Jamaica Public Service remove the non-tax threshold and replace it with an incentivized compatible rebate of GCT for persons who use 200 megawatts of electricity or less per month. The reduction is set to take effect after the next budget in March 2025. Speaking at the 81st Annual Conference of the Jamaica Labour Party at the National Arena, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said this will allow for the rollout of prepaid electricity purchase. He also explained how Jamaicans will benefit from a time-of-day pricing of electricity. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says introducing time-of-day pricing of electricity will allow customers to benefit from better rates by arranging how they consume electricity in off-peak hours.
You know, the peak hours is usually in the evening when everybody come home from work. Electricity high, cost high. But now the JPS can say, all right, if you use most of your electricity in off-peak hours, you pay a lower rate. So you have the option now of economizing how you use electricity. But it is also better for the grid, because right now, in peak time, everybody is using the grid, put stress on the grid. But if you can evenly distribute the use of the grid, it is more economical for everyone.
He says plans are also being made to move to scale up its pilot project of onboarding customers in vulnerable communities through the Community Electrification Housing Wiring Program,
which provides households on the program with electrical outlets, lights and switches, and GEI, that is the General Electrical Inspector certification. This will assist these communities in becoming legal JPS customers.
Mr. Holness says the aim is to increase growth citizens' prospects by having a more efficient electricity grid, thereby increasing prospects for growing the economy. There is no shortage of coins. Those words of assurance came from Deputy Governor of the Bank of Jamaica, Natalie Haynes, as she addressed concerns while speaking at the Central Bank's quarterly Monetary Policy Report press conference. To address concerns about coin availability, the BOJ highlighted the importance of pre-ordering coins for businesses requiring large quantities.
There's no shortage of coins. We supply coins depending on what the commercial banks order from us, so there's no shortage of coins.
Mrs. Haynes says retailers are sending their bearers to the counters to get the coins, but that should not be done.
What I'm advised by the banks is that supermarkets that require, or any other retail business that require large values of coins, they need to pre-order those coins with the banks. Make an arrangement to say, I need X amount of $5 or $1 coins. What most retail persons are doing is sending their bearers to the counters to get it. And that's not how it is to be done. They are to call the personal banking section and place the order because they need large volumes.
She also addressed concerns about the prevalence of $5,000 notes in automated banking machines.
Yes, we have had actually complaints from the public regarding the 5,000, the large proliferation of 5,000 in the ABMs. And I think you're right. I think it's expediency on the part of the cash in transit in terms of not going so often to replenish the ABMs if you put high-value notes in there. Not all the ABMs have the 2,000 as yet. The banks are still working on that. But we are working with the banks and with Beryllium to say, do not put so many 5,000 because we are getting complaints. And the more complaints we get, we will push that back to the banks and Beryllium. There's no shortage of any denomination of banknotes. You probably won't see any 50 or 100s because based on the number of trays in the ABMs, they will put.
In this week's Living Healthy, we take a look at St. Thomas Teen Hub. It's a place where youngsters can get answers to health-related questions in confidence. And that's not all.
What if I told you there's a place you could go that has pretty much everything you need to be your best self? If you need help with schoolwork, for example, printing assignments, we have Wi-Fi and computers. And guess what? You have free access to all of them. For more personal matters, counselors are ready to assist you with mental health counseling, family planning, and HIV testing. Our career building and life skills group sessions are guaranteed to set you on the right path towards achieving your goals. So, whether it's doing those assignments, getting the help you need, or just simply relaxing, then I know the perfect place. The Teen Hub, right here in St. Thomas.
Time now for the Business Report with Denise Williams.
Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, your guide through the latest happenings in the world of business. Garnet Reed, president of the Small Business Association of Jamaica, SBAJ, applauded the Bank of Jamaica's recent decision to further lower benchmark interest rates from 6.5% to 6.25%. Speaking at the SBAJ's 50th anniversary dinner at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel on November 25th, President Reed noted that access to affordable capital is critical to the growth to the small business sector. The Bank of Jamaica has now lowered the policy rate by 75 basis points this year. Governor of the Bank of Jamaica, Richard Biles, declared the decision to further ease monetary policy reflects the committee view that A, following the temporary impact on Hurricane Beryl, on inflation, prices are becoming more anchored in the bank's target range of 4 to 6%, and B, the inflation outlook has improved. Tax Administration Jamaica is reporting that 216,207 applicants will receive disbursements totaling over 4.3 billion Jamaican dollars this month under the government's reverse income tax credit initiative. This will bring the total number of individuals benefiting so far from the tax giveback to 290,912, with a total payments of $5.8 billion. The latest payments are scheduled for disbursements during the week of November 25 to 29 and will include payments to clients of National Commercial Bank and Scotiabank who had earlier experienced delays in the process. Under the initiative, eligible individuals earning less than $3 million per year will receive a one-time $20,000 payment. Eligible individuals who have not yet applied are reminded that the deadline for the submission of the applications is December 2, 2024. During trading for the period of November 25, 2024, the following companies represent the top 3 most active stocks that investors bought and sold on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Alternative energy provider Wigton Energy Limited with 7,542,896 units represented 28.96% of the market volume in terms of sales. Toll road operator Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 2,777,674 units represented 10.66% of the market volume in terms of sales. Investment house Sterling Investments Limited with 1,647,310 units represent 6.32% of the market volume in terms of sales. Moving from the money moves of investors, executives, and companies on the stock market, we turn to the Forex market. On November 25, 2024, the Bank of Jamaica reported that US $41.37 million was bought from Forex traders, while US $50.89 million was sold to Forex traders. Buying directly from the Bank of Jamaica, foreign currency traders sold the US dollar for $158.50 and bought the US dollar for $157.06. The difference between the buy and sell rate was $1.44, which represents a profit for Forex traders for every US dollar traded. Canadian Forex traders earned a trading profit of 34 cents from transactions with the Bank of Jamaica. The Canadian dollar was sold at $113.28 and bought for $112.94. For traders looking at the British pound, they pocketed a profit of $8.35, selling it for $202.99 and buying it for $194.64. For our credit report tip of the day, your credit score can help you access the best funding options. We offer 2 examples. First, you could qualify for small business loans. A strong credit score gives you better terms and lower interest rates, maximizing your borrowing power. Also, you could unlock lines of credit. Build financial flexibility with business credit lines to manage cash flow effectively. And with that, we wrap up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams. Appreciate your company. Stay well informed, stay ahead of the curve. Until our next update, take care.
In regional news, the Caribbean is stepping up its fight against illegal firearms, with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley of Trinidad and Tobago announcing an expanded regional integration ballistic information network to tackle the growing arms crisis. The announcement came during CARICOM's 2nd Regional Symposium on Crime and Violence.
CARICOM is making strides to slow the flow of arms to territories and to identify perpetrators and facilitators with help from the United States. That's according to Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, who addressed the audience at the opening ceremony for the 2nd Regional Symposium on Crime and Violence in Georgetown, Guyana on Friday. A recent U.S. Government Accountability Office (GAO) report revealed that several Caribbean nations, including St. Lucia, are affected by an influx of illegal firearms originating from the United States.
The firearms tracing capability of the region has been considerably enhanced through the expansion of the Regional Integration Ballistic Information Network, RIBIN. These broadening of the scope of RIBIN is enabling more CARICOM member states to access firearms tracking equipment and technologies. And this might be a good point for me to mention that in collaboration and in response to our appeal and I dare say demand to the United States to get involved in these actions, that there have been a number of US generated initiatives, not the least of which the crime gun development approach with United States authorities and the establishment of the illicit trafficking crime czar up north and the making of new legislation to allow federal agencies to treat with trans-state cross-border trafficking. These developments are helping us to slow the flow of arms to our territories and to identify the perpetrators and facilitators.
Guyana President Dr. Ifan Ali stated that studies show that 85% of violent crimes are committed by men, which has deeper effects on the economy.
In Guyana, I'll give you one example. 66% of students at the University of Guyana are now women. 66% of the total intake at the University of Guyana are women. And when you look at the scholarship program, more than 70% of the total scholarships available, which is in the last 4 years is more than 30,000, are taken up by women. The consequential effect is that 85% of the violent crime are committed by our male. So where is their attention being directed to?
Barbados is set to benefit from a major financial boost, $500 million following the signing of a key agreement between Prime Minister Mia Mottley and the Export-Import Bank of the United States. The funds aim to drive critical investments across the island, with Barbados joining Trinidad and Tobago and St. Kitts and Nevis as regional partners in similar deals. Rachel Agard has the story.
Prime Minister Mia Mottley says the injection of funds has been earmarked to enhance the island's cybersecurity, renewable energy, water and sanitation, as well as maritime domain awareness. And she says the MOU now allows the country to change course and benefit in similar fashion through deals with other Exim banks.
You would have heard me say earlier that next year is going to be full with a lot of private sector projects, particularly in the tourism sector. And therefore, for us not to be able to address the issue of greening through expanded renewable energy would be a dereliction of duty. For us not to expand and to strengthen our distribution capacity and augment our water resources would be a dereliction of duty. For us not to protect in a major way our digital environment through beefing up our capacity for cybersecurity would be a dereliction of duty. And of course, we are a large ocean state and not just a small island developing state, and hence the marine, the awareness within our maritime domain is utterly and absolutely critical.
President and Chair of the bank, Rita Jo Lewis, says the partnership is part of the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to revitalizing partnerships and collaborations with the Caribbean.
At XM and throughout our U.S. government, we see Barbados as a key country in the Caribbean where XM can help support impactful projects on the ground that impacts lives and builds economies, very much what the minister just spoke about. Whether it is supporting a local business, importing U.S. goods and services on a small scale, to large transformational infrastructure projects, XM, we believe, has the tools to support a wide variety of clients across Barbados.
Meanwhile, Minister in the Ministry of Finance Ryan Strawn says it's important as Barbados seeks to drive an aggressive growth agenda.
Certainly with our thrust to digitize not just government, but the private sector's capability in modernizing Barbados, that cybersecurity is a critical area that we want to ensure that we can get done properly, and to ensure then that ordinary Barbadians can do business online safely, and that we can engage the rest of the world in a manner that is consistent with our.
Officials say the MOU is a statement of general intent and sets no legal duties at this time, but rather is intended to allow both sides to be able to work together and for Barbados to have access to the line of credit. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Antigua and Barbuda joined in observing International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women on November 25, the start of the 16 Days of Activism campaign. Junior Social Transformation Minister Senator Michael Joseph has delivered a message to mark the observance, pointing to the Social Transformation Ministry's progress to tackle the thorny issue. Kim Emmanuel Beard reports.
Junior Transformation Minister Senator Michael Joseph is in full support of this year's theme for 16 Days of Activism and says he will be paying keen attention to these issues.
The Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action is an international convention seen as a global blueprint towards advancing gender equality and strongly supports and hold governments accountable to putting mechanisms in place to end gender-based violence.
Senator Joseph says the Twin Island state was one of the first countries to sign on the Beijing Declaration through the Directorate of Gender Affairs. The Directorate submitted the country's latest Platform for Action report in June 2024.
The 16 days of activism presents a unique opportunity for us here in Antigua and Barbuda to reflect on the progress we have made over the years in relation to reducing and addressing this issue through policy, legislation, and programming.
The junior minister says Antigua and Barbuda should be proud to have the sub-region's first sexual offense model court. The country is also the first to establish a support and referral center for victims of gender-based violence, thanks to the Directorate of Gender Affairs. Senator Joseph adds the country has been actively doing its part to tackle violence against women and girls, pointing to key steps taken.
We also passed into legislation the National Sex Offender Register Bill. These are just a few taken by this government to strengthen our institutional capacity in relation to addressing violence against women and girls and people in general in an impactful and sustainable way.
The 16 days of activism runs until December 10th, 2024. Reporting for ABS News, this is Kim Emmanuel Beard.
In sports, we start on the pitch with cricket. The West Indies won their first test against Bangladesh at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua. TTT Live had a pre-match story.
The West Indies scuffed any chances of another 400-plus total as they were scuttled out for 152, a lead of 334. Alec Athena's top scored with 42 and captain Craig Brathwaite added 23. Taskin Ahmed was the pick of the Bangladesh bowlers with figures of 6 for 64. Mehdi Hassan Miraz took 2 for 31. But the West Indies pacers ensured that victory would be within sight as they had Bangladesh pegged back on 109 for 7 when play was called for the day due to diminishing light. Kemar Roach and his protege Jayden Seals ended day 4 with 3 wickets each, 3 for 20 and 3 for 31 respectively. Bangladesh closed day 4 needing a further 225 runs for victory with 3 wickets in hand.
The West Indies won this first test by 201 runs. The second test is set for November 30 at Sabina Park in Kingston, Jamaica, starting at 10 a.m. Now on to the court with netball. The Sunshine Girls earned a nail-biting victory over England on Monday. The girls edged England 50-49 to level the Horizon Series at 1-1 at the National Indoor Sports Centre. This win sets the stage for a decisive fourth match, scheduled to take place at 7 p.m. at the same venue tonight. Aiken George led the scoring for the Sunshine Girls with 30 goals from 34 attempts. She got support from Shanice Beckford, who scored 19 goals from 23 attempts, and Rhea Dixon, who got 1 from 2. That's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. And remember, we are the People's Station.